Okay, welcome into the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 65C. We're kind of stuck on 65, and man, it's already December. So I'm going to move. Well, we'll go to, I tell you what we'll do. We'll go to 66, episode show number 66, because we got to get moving along. It's getting late in the year. We're normally heading a little higher than on the episode count, but we've done a lot of A, B's, and C's, and so we're going to move to episode show number 66. This will be episode show number 66. I want to salute probably the best number 66 ever to play the game, pulling guard Larry Little of the Miami Dolphins. Back in the early 1970s, he played on the 1972 Miami Dolphins, perfect team that won the Super Bowl and went undefeated. Their coach, Don Shula, sadly passed away in the last couple of years, but he took the record to the grave, to heaven, I should say. Jaguars game with the Texans was at home. Texans a 5.5 point favorite. The Jaguars came out, played hard. I've got impressions of the game. There was a very vicious and bad hit on quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence did take a vicious hit and got knocked out of the game after just returning from the sore left shoulder, his left shoulder injury. Came back to play after the bye week and takes a hit from number 0, Al Shire. I watched the play. I watched it more than once. I watched it multiple times. Most people are calling it a dirty hit. The game is a fast game. It's a fast game. You know, back in the day, 1970s, 1980s, they had a rule called in the grasp. Well, this wasn't anything close to in the grasp. This was almost like a missile. Close to that. Watching the play, Trevor was going near the first down, but he had slid. He did go into a slide to give himself up, like sliding into second base. It was a definite quarterback slide. And then we almost immediately after the slide, he gets a hit by number 0, and that's an appropriate number for this guy, 0. Al Shire. And as I understand it, Al Shire has a reputation for some of these type hits. And I hope the league will suspend him. We'll see what happens. Trevor Lawrence is going to miss a game. He's already in the concussion protocol, coming off his left shoulder injury. Now he's in the concussion protocol. I don't see Trevor playing the next game. Will Trevor play the rest of the year? It's hard for me to say that he will at this point. We'll see what happens. Trevor wants to play. He came out saying he wanted to play before this game during the week. But I've watched the play. I have watched it over and over and over. I've probably watched it at least 5, 6, 7 times. It's like I say, it's a fast game. Larry Saucer, one of our sponsors, was Saucer Realty and Capital for your North Florida real estate needs. Larry made a comment on our Facebook group that what was the exact comment Larry made? I don't want to misquote Larry, but he said something about the slide. Maybe they should take the slide out because it leaves the quarterback very vulnerable. Very vulnerable. Trevor Lawrence was near. If you take a look at the highlight, you're going to know that the first down marker. I don't know if Trevor got a first down. I can't even remember if he got the credit for the first down. There were flags thrown on the hit. Evan Ingram, after the hit, came to Trevor Lawrence's aid and went right for Shire. And then there was another player there too. There may be multiple suspensions. The league will take a look at it and we'll see what happens. There was a penalty thrown on the play, obviously for excessive roughness. Back in the day, they had excessive roughness and said, play on, 15 yards. However, this was a little bit different. This is a franchise quarterback, and the NFL has a responsibility really to protect any of the 32 starting quarterbacks in the National Football League. Trevor took a rough hit, and looking at the highlight, he was hit he was hit by Shire's helmet and by his forearm. He did have the forearm up, hit Trevor in the head with the forearm and his helmet. Trevor went out of the game. I saw a similar instance back in the mid to late 1990s where Mark Brunell, and I don't want to say it was something ordered by the coach, but that's the feeling I had. In this case, I don't believe that was the case. But Butch Davis was a coach of the Cleveland Browns, and a player, I feel like, went over the edge and put Mark Brunell out of a game against the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if you guys remember that game. It was mid to late 90s. Jags had a good team, and Mark Brunell was put out of that game for the rest of the game, as I recall, with an injury. It does change the complete complexion of the game. In this case, Mac Jones came in, and of the 3 games Mac has played in now, this was probably his best game statistically. I think he had 2 touchdown passes and no interceptions. I haven't really looked at all the stats yet. By the way, 33 degrees this morning in Jacksonville, the low temperature at 7 o'clock a.m. on Monday morning, December the 2nd is what this is. Monday morning, December the 2nd, 33 degrees here in Jacksonville, Florida. So I'm going to call it a vicious hit. It was illegal. In most circles, they're calling it a dirty cheap shot. So you can also say if it's a dirty cheap shot, the player, Al Shire, went over the top. In other words, it was excessive. It was excessive to what it needed to be, obviously. Quarterbacks are protected in the NFL. Trevor's going to miss time. I would suspect Al Shire will miss time too because of the hit. There's going to be fines. Evan Ingram came to the aid of Trevor Lawrence, and there was another Jaguars player. And then there was a full melee between there were players that weren't in the game that got involved in it. And so there may be there'll be fines levied and suspensions. I don't know how many suspensions. At this point, the Jaguars are 2-10. The season, for all intents and purposes, is over. There'll be no playoffs. There'll be absolutely no playoffs. And I hate to see Trevor take the hit. Most people are pointing a finger at Al Shire. He's playing the game hard, but it was excessive. And I would have to agree with it's hard to agree with what everybody says all the time. It really is. But most people that have seen the film are calling it a dirty cheap shot. It was excessive. It was a forearm and a helmet, if that tells you much about it. Trevor had done the slide, was defenseless, and was hit by a forearm and helmet after he already implemented the slide near the first down marker. I can't recall if he got the first down or not. We'll have to go back and review all that, but it's very sad that Trevor took the hit. He's in the concussion protocol. Jags lose the game 23-20. So that's a big story from the game. However, there were other things going on too. I'm going to say this. I don't really like talking about Trevor's performance, especially when he got hit and hurt and hit excessively by a forearm and a helmet. But I'll say this. Trevor was off to a slow start in the game. There were a couple of long passes. I think the wide receivers were waiting for the ball to get there. There was an interception of a ball. Jaguars probably were lucky to only be behind 6-0 at the time they were. Jags went on to kick a field goal. The game got close at 6-3. And then the second half, the Houston Texans, I can't really say they dominated the game, but they were in control of the game. It got to be 23-12. The Jaguars scored a touchdown, I think, with a couple of minutes to go. Got a 2-point conversion. It got close, 23-20, but not close enough. The spread was 5.5 points. The Jaguars did cover the spread. That's about the only nice thing I can say about the final outcome. But kind of looking at what happened and in the game and I mainly watched the first half. I saw the vicious hit. I've seen the highlight of the vicious hit. Um, you know, I asked John Gaylor more about the second half because I quite frankly was a little sick and I didn't watch as much of the second half. I followed it on my phone, my computer, because I was away from world headquarters for a little while yesterday. But I was actually at a barbecue establishment watching the first half of the game when the hit was made. I believe I watched the first part of the game at world headquarters, went to get something to eat, watched, and they had big screens up at where I was, good sized screens, and I could see it most everything. And then I left at halftime and I was in communication with John Gaylor. It was a tough loss, 23-20. Mac Jones, he's going to play the next game, I'm sure. I don't see Trevor coming back in the next game, probably not in the game after that. Trevor may be done for the season. He's going to be in the concussion protocol. And I guess between Trevor Lawrence, his agent, the Jaguars brass, they'll all get their heads together to see if he's ready to go. This was not a good thing that happened at all. Jaguars lose 23-20. I did want to, and I haven't really taken a look at all the stats, although Mac Jones had a pretty good game. I looked at the stats briefly. I think he had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. It was his best in his 3 games. Mac did not really look good the first 2 games at all. The Jaguars scored like a combined 13 points in the 2 games that Mac Jones played prior to Trevor coming back. He had a better, I mean, he basically played the tail end of the first half and the entire second half and did have 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Trevor, in the time he was out there, did not play that well. But I'll tell you something, in defense of Trevor, I'm going to blame some of it on the play calling. I think there should have been more intermediate plays to build up for the long passes because Trevor, it seemed like he was a little rusty out there with the long passes. The wide receiver looked like, hey, I'm waiting for the ball to get here. So I don't know if there was a route problem, throwing of the ball problem. Trevor probably should have got a little bit more air under the ball, and the wide receiver could have led the wide receiver on the long pass. But I think the play calling with Press Taylor or Doug Peterson, or whoever's calling the plays right now, or the combination of the two, I think there should have been more intermediate plays, short passes. They tried some runs, of course. That's just my opinion. The play calling, I did not like most. I'm not going to say I didn't like every play call, but I did not like most of the play calling in the game. That is my opinion. I'm Scott, your host of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida. You'll find the link on our website at bigjreport.com. Also, we're brought to you by the madmaxmix.weebly.com. Mad Max is a great show on Wednesday nights. He plays your request. He'll give you his phone number during the show at madmaxmix.weebly.com. Wednesday nights, 6 o'clock p.m. until 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock Eastern Time with the madmaxmix.weebly.com. JC's show on Thursday nights. Check it out. JC live from the pub on Thursday nights, beginning at 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time at LakeEufaulahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. JC's requests are a little different than Max's. JC has a chat box where you can chat him the request with Max. I believe Max, in most cases, will give you his phone number during the show, and you can text him or absolutely call him. So we're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital, the madmaxmix.weebly.com, and by Lake Eufaula Hits. So here we are talking about the bad hit by Al Shire, number 0, with the Houston Texans. Houston Texans win the game 23-20. I'm seeing some highlights on the monitor. I'm looking at the play again. Oh, it was helmet to helmet. Flag was thrown immediately. Trevor's body ended up near the yellow marker, near the yellow line, which is traditionally the first down marker. He gave himself up. Then he was hit by a forearm, and it looked like the helmet as well. And I'm looking at another angle of the replay now. Flag was thrown. Trevor Lawrence enters the concussion protocol. Trevor Lawrence did not play well. Let's face it, the Jaguars had 0 points on the board. I'm looking at the melee after the play, and you got Trayvon Walker, who's not really even in the game, coming off the bench. It was occurring. Let's see. It was down by the Jaguars bench. And so in all defense to, Andrew Wingard, who was out there, they were all on the bench. It was near the Jaguars bench, I believe, on the Jaguars side of the field. So in my opinion, Trevor did not play well. There was a pass before he got hurt. There was a pass that was thrown into double coverage. I didn't like that. I think he should have gone another way with the ball. Were there passes underthrown? Maybe. So I don't think Trevor performed very well in this game. But he was just coming back from being out for 2 games with the shoulder injury. My take on the first half of the game, because I think the game was basically won by the Texans after the hit. Would you say that? Butch Davis, when he coached for the Browns, kind of did something similar. But I don't think the Houston Texans coaching staff had anything to do with this. I mean, maybe in pregame meetings, hey, you got to really hit Trevor. I don't know. Who knows? But this is what happened. This is the film that the NFL has, our fans have, the local national media have on the hit on Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be talked about, basically everywhere. Talking about the game. Again, Mac Jones came in. Jaguars got a field goal. I believe it was 6-3 at halftime. Texans kind of took control of the game in the second half. Then the Jaguars mounted some comebacks and, give Mac Jones credit, a couple of touchdown passes, no interceptions. So Mac played his best of his 3 games that he has played in. That's my opinion. Now, if I concentrate on the first half of the game, the part of the game I got an opportunity to watch. I'm going to go back and watch the film of the second half, of course. But in the first half, what I noticed was a few things. Trevor did not play very well. The play calling was not the best. I'm not going to say it was awful. I'm just going to say the play calling was not the best by whoever was making the play calling, whoever came up with the plays. Also, I kind of isolate, and I hate to pick on him all the time, but I kind of isolated on watching the number 1 overall draft pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2022, Trayvon Walker. I watched him. He could not get around Laramie Tunsil. I don't know if Tunsil is all pro, but let me tell you, he could not get around him. He absolutely could not get around Laramie Tunsil, probably through the first quarter or more of the game. And then I guess you get into the second quarter, and I'm watching Trayvon, and now he's trying to move toward the middle, trying to make some moves, some pass rushing moves up the middle, away from Tunsil. He could not get by Laramie Tunsil. That is my opinion watching the defense. And the Jags defense played okay. I don't think the Texans offense is that great right now. Their quarterback, Stroud, is struggling. He's been throwing some interceptions in recent weeks. And, every team at this time of the year, players have nagging injuries. You see bad hits like, Al Shire made number 0 for the Texans on Trevor Lawrence. So these are my takes from the game. Watching the defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was the main thing that stood out with me. Walker Little got a contract extension before this game. Just about 2 or 3 weeks back, I guess about 3 weeks back now, Cam Robinson was traded to the Vikings for, I believe, a high draft pick or 2. And now you got Walker Little coming off the bench playing left tackle. Apparently, the Jaguars brass feel like he's playing well. This is the 4th year of his rookie deal. So now they're going to make him the permanent left tackle because they've re-upped him. They've re-upped him and signed him to a new contract. So you got Anton Harrison on the right side at tackle, and now Walker Little on the left side. So these are the guys you're going with, and this is your general manager Trent Baalke making a move here after trading Cam Robinson and getting out of his contract about 3 weeks ago. So you had some moves. Walker Little, the left tackle, Anton Harrison, the right tackle. You got some veterans playing guard. I think the Jaguars need to draft a guard now. And I think they still need to draft a tackle because now they're down a tackle. So I think in the first 3 rounds, maybe you get an offensive playmaker in the first 3 rounds. They're talking about DBs, but I think in the first 3 rounds you got to get a guard. I'm talking about a good guard. You may be talking about a first-round guard, second-round guard, and you still need to draft a left tackle, is in my mind, because these guys, after all, are rookies when they come in. So my take from the game is play calling was not good. Trevor took a vicious hit, and he's going to be out in the concussion protocol. Heck, he's just coming off the left shoulder injury. Jaguars lose 23-20. I've got it on the scroll. Again, we're brought to you by Sauce Realty and Capital, the Mad Max Mix.weebly.com, and Lake Eufaula Hits. It was a terrible, vicious hit. Jaguars lose. We'll be around the NFL with some other scores. I will pull up. The Buffalo game was in the absolute snow. Can you believe it? By the way, on our previous podcast that we did, it was a live stream on we did one on Saturday. We did one on Sunday morning, I believe, and we've got college football scores galore in those. Florida Gators with a nice win over Florida State, to say the least. Florida Gators 31, FSU 11. Let's go around the NFL and take a look at the game scores. Jaguars lose to Houston 23-20. Indy got a 1-point win in New England. Indianapolis Colts 25. New England Patriots 24. The Jaguars are at rock bottom of the AFC South at 2-10 now. Can you believe that? Seattle is playing better ball most weeks. They beat the New York Jets 26-21. You might remember Roy Robertson Harris, Jaguars defensive lineman, was traded to Seattle back well over a month ago. Seattle wins 26-20. It seems like their defense is playing okay. I think the Washington Redskins or Washington Commanders quarterback out of LSU, the rookie, he's having a great year. He may be the real deal. Washington annihilated Tennessee. I'm looking at the score. Let's see. It was Washington 42, Tennessee 19. Let me check that score again. And Washington is having a pretty good year. They got a shot at making the playoffs. They've won some games. They got a pretty good defense. The Washington Commanders are 8-5. The Tennessee Titans fall to 3-9, but they got a better record than the Jaguars. They're sitting in third place in the AFC South. Washington Commanders 42, the Tennessee Titans 19. The quarterback obviously is playing very well, and he's a rookie. He's an absolute rookie. The quarterback out of LSU, Jaden Daniels is his name. Jaden Daniels, quarterback. I'll tell you what. I saw the Buffalo Bills quarterback make a great pass in the snow to the right side of the end zone. I don't know how the receiver caught the ball. It was a good pass, but it was right near the sidelines. And Buffalo had a great night in the snow. They beat San Francisco. That game was definitely in the elements. Looks like Tampa Bay is going to be in the playoffs. They beat Carolina 26-23, LA Rams 21, New Orleans Saints 14 with their general manager, Les Snead. We like him a lot. The Rams beat the Saints 21-14. Philadelphia. I thought Baltimore might get this one, but Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia 24, Baltimore Ravens 19. And in all that snow in Buffalo, I saw a good bit of the game. Buffalo wins 35-10 over the 49ers. Brock Purdy was back in the lineup. Didn't seem to help much. Buffalo was on fire. And they're a team that they know about the snow already. Going back to the Thursday games on Thanksgiving, Detroit beat Chicago 23-20. Eberflus, the head coach of Chicago, got fired after the game. Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants. Dallas 27, the New York Giants 20. Green Bay Packers 30, Miami 17. Then there was a Friday game. It was a Friday game after the Thanksgiving games. Kansas City Chiefs beat the Las Vegas Raiders 19-17. Kansas City Chiefs 19, Las Vegas Raiders 17. Sunday games, LA Chargers 17, the Atlanta Falcons 13. Pittsburgh playing well. Russell Wilson And those guys, Pittsburgh put 44 points on the board against Cincinnati. This was a really high-powered offensive game. I was watching this game on one of the big screens at the barbecue restaurant while I was watching the Jags, too. I think they had 2 TVs on the Jags. Then they had this game on the tube, too. Pittsburgh 44, Cincinnati Bengals 38. And again, the Houston Texans 23, Jacksonville Jaguars 20. Arizona played Minnesota. Arizona is a much improved team over last year. Minnesota beat them, though. Minnesota 23, the Arizona Cardinals 22. Again, we told you about the Colts beating New England 25-24. Indianapolis Colts 25, New England Patriots 24. Seattle Seahawks again 26. New York Jets 21. The Jets can't seem to buy a win lately, can they? Seattle Seahawks 26, New York Jets 21. And that rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, for Washington, I've watched him play. I saw him play even in the Dallas loss. This guy appears to be the real deal. He can run, he can pass. And he's got Washington in the playoff hunt. Washington Commanders are now 8-5. They destroyed Tennessee. Washington football team 42. The Tennessee Titans 19, and they still got a better record than the Jags. The quarterback, Will Levis, who puts mayonnaise in the coffee. So this is episode show number 66. We kind of got off of 65 and said, hey, we're going to go with 66, and we'll probably just, do these type episodes where we're just going to go to 67 next time. The A, B, and C stuff. We've done a lot of that too. Thank you for watching. Those are the games. Those are the NFL games. Florida Gators won their grudge match. Florida 31, FSU 11. And that game was obviously on Saturday, November the 30th. Man, there were a lot of games. Michigan upset Ohio State. What was it? It was a low scoring, like Pop Warner score. Michigan 13, Ohio State 10. Some defense in that one. Ohio State drops to 10-2. They're still probably going to be in the playoff, but they're not in the title game. They're not in the Big Ten title game, I mean. Indiana beat Purdue like 66-0. I think it'd be criminal if Indiana did not make the playoff, but there's probably only going to be one team make the playoff from the Big 12. It's going to be interesting to see how the 12 teams shake down in the college football playoff with 12 teams. There's a lot of SEC teams with 3 losses. Probably none of them should get in. The 3 teams that should get in are going to be Texas, Georgia, who will play in the SEC title game, but Texas and Georgia should get in, and Tennessee should at 10-2. Then you got 3 teams that are all 9-3. Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri. I think there's 4 teams that are 9-3. And Missouri, they're a quiet 9-3 in my opinion. They lost to Vanderbilt in overtime. Vanderbilt finished 6-6, and they'll go to a bowl game. But my goodness, you got some teams with 3 losses in the SEC. You got South Carolina, Missouri 9-3. Alabama's 9-3. They feel like they're deserving to get in to the 12-team tournament, if you will, if that's what you're going to call it, a 12-team playoff. So you've got Alabama 9-3, Ole Miss 9-3. Then you got South Carolina extremely hot. They just beat Clemson by 3 points. South Carolina's 9-3, and Missouri's 9-3. How many teams is that? That's 9-3. South Carolina, Missouri, Alabama, Ole Miss. It's 4 teams that are 9-3. Do any of those teams get in with Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee? Because Tennessee's 10-2. The other teams I'm talking about are 9-3. Florida Gators, big win, 31. Florida Gators 31, Florida State 11. Georgia Bulldogs in a Friday night game and 8 overtimes beat Georgia Tech 44-42. That was back on Friday. November the 29th. I slept through the whole thing. The next morning, I'm getting messages and posts in the Big J Report Facebook group from Dave Stockton, former radio guy, great guy, actually. He worked at a lot of the same places I did in radio. He's a little bit older than me, actually, and he he would work at a place in radio, and then like 3, 4, 5 years later, I would work there. And so we kind of had some good conversations about the old radio days, right? So Florida won, Florida 31. Wow, President Biden pardons Hunter. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Talk about putting family ahead of country. My gosh. I don't normally get political, but that flashed across the screen there. Isn't that amazing? Looking at the hit again. I'm watching it again. Yeah, he led with the helmet and the forearm. Dirty hit. 85 for the Jaguars. Number 17, Evan Ingram, was first to come to Trevor's aid, and then number 85 came in there for the Jaguars. I think that's Brenton Strange, isn't it? 85. I'll have to check the numbers, the roster, and that type of thing, but crazy. It was a terrible hit by number 0, Al Shire. He'll take credit for it. He should get a big, hefty fine and should also be suspended. Honestly, he should be suspended. I don't know how many games. How many games is Trevor going to be out? Maybe he should be suspended the same amount of games Trevor misses or more. But there's going to be hefty fines. I'm sure Evan Ingram will get some kind of fine for retaliating, basically protecting his quarterback. Because if you don't have protection of your quarterback, they're going to keep doing the same thing. There's no repercussions. In this case, Evan Ingram, give him credit. Tight end Evan Ingram came to the aid of Trevor Lawrence. So did number 85. I think 85 Brenton Strange. I believe he is. I'll take a look. But I've just looked at the film again. Take a look here. But I saw 85 was the second guy. That was a tight end. Let's see. Brenton Strange is number 85. Brenton Strange is 85. He is. He's number 85. So it was Evan Ingram first there on the scene, then Brenton Strange, both the tight ends coming to the aid of one Trevor Lawrence. Tough injury. So I've given you my opinion on the game. I think Mac played better in this one when he was playing late in the first half and in the second half. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jags fall short again. Again, the Jacksonville Jaguars fall short. Houston Texans 23, the Jacksonville Jaguars 20. Again, college football, Florida 31, Florida State 11. Alabama knocked off Auburn. That's a big rivalry, too. Alabama 28, Auburn 14. Michigan surprised Ohio State. Ohio State was a big favorite in this one. Michigan 13, Ohio State 10. Rivalry Saturday on the last Saturday in November. Nothing like it, right? Tennessee did beat Vanderbilt, so Tennessee's now 10-2. Tennessee did something that Alabama and Auburn couldn't. They beat Vanderbilt. Tennessee will be in the playoff at 10-2. So will Georgia and Texas. Those are 3 for sure SEC teams getting into the 12-team playoff. There's like 4 teams that are 9-3. My executive producer even told me that Alabama shouldn't be in the playoffs. So the other 3 lost teams shouldn't be either, even though South Carolina is the hottest team. They've won 6 in a row. Could they get in? They just beat Clemson. Clemson is going to be in the ACC title game. Miami got beat by Syracuse. Syracuse 42, Miami of Florida 38. So Miami of Florida, even at 10-2, could they be left out of the playoff? Could the ACC just get one team in, and who will they be? You got an SMU. SMU is actually playing Clemson in the ACC championship game. SEC championship game is going to have Georgia and Texas. So that's some of what's going on in college football, and we kind of did take our look around the NFL. I want to thank our producers, our executive producer, JC, also Alex Nunnery, another producer, and John Gaylor, thank you for your comments. And we're going to do another podcast probably tomorrow morning, if not sooner, on everything. I wanted to get the NFL scores out to you today on Monday morning, December the 2nd, give you our thoughts. At least, I gave you my first half thoughts, second half thoughts, and I've got to look at the stats again. I was astounded at some of the defensive numbers where some of the players were not there on tackles. But I did mention what I saw in the first half defensively. with the Jaguars' #1 overall pick. This was a lot about the #1 overall pick in this game. Trevor Lawrence gets hurt. He was the #1 overall pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2021. In 2022, the #1 overall pick was Trayvon Walker. He could not get around Laramie Tunsil in the first half. And in defense to Trayvon Walker, he did get a sack later in the game. He did get a sack in this game. We'll talk more Jaguars football coming up. Thank you guys for watching and listening. By the way, on our website, we've got high school football playoff scores on the website at bigjreport.com. That's bigjreport.com. That's on the homepage. Go to our sports section, and there's college football scores up too. Check those out. Check out bigjreport.com. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I'm Scott, your host for the Teal Shirt Report podcast, and I'm out. You guys have a great day, okay? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 66.